Hello everybody, this is Adrian for WapCar.my and I'm all about the details. This is the all-new Toyota Corolla Cross, and in today's video, I'm going to give you guys a first drive impressions of the car, show you in and around of it, and help you decide whether is this your next perfect car. Download the official WapCar app on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store now. Segmentization of vehicles is starting to become more and more relevant these days because the A, B, C, D segments, manufacturers are starting to create a lot of in-betweens and makes it a little bit very complicated for consumers to shop for cars. However, to put things into perspective for this Corolla Cross, it goes up against the Honda HR-V. It's positioned that way. However, it's in the same class and category as the Mazda CX-30 as well as Subaru XV, because the Corolla Cross uses a C-segment platform, which is the TNGA-C platform shared with the Toyota CHR and Toyota Corolla Altis. However, the biggest difference in this Corolla Cross is that the rear suspension doesn't use a double wishbone suspension. Instead, it uses a simpler torsion beam setup for better interior packaging. There are two variants of the Corolla Cross available, the range-topping 1.8V as well as this entry-level 1.8G that we have here with me. Now, differentiating the two variants, you can identify them on the exterior front are the simpler halogen projector headlamps, smaller 17-inch alloys, as well as a simpler LED tail lamp clusters. The range-topping variant gets full LED headlamps, larger 18-inch alloys, as well as a fancier LED tail lamps. The exterior design of the Corolla Cross, I feel, is very family-friendly. It's not as aggressively styled as the Toyota CHR, nor is it very sporty like the Proton X50. The Corolla Cross just fits a very family kind of buyer profile because of its soft, smooth lines. The front grille, it's wide, gaping, looks very much like what you've seen in the Toyota RAV4. And over to the side, it's not overly rugged as well. As you can see from these plastic claddings, it does not stretch or intrude the clean body lines of the Corolla Cross. And over here, my favorite part about it is this little chrome strip that runs across the C-pillar with a Corolla Cross lettering here. I think it looks very nice, very fancy. The rear of the Corolla Cross, when I first saw it in photos, I thought it looked a little bit weird. But after seeing it in person and getting up close to it, it has a very smooth, clean lines at the rear design and gives it a very organic look. I feel that this design would stand the test of time much better compared to a CHR, for example. Now over to the lower section of the bumper, there's this massive plastic cladding. I think it's very neatly integrated because it doesn't cheapen the car's design. It doesn't make the car look cheap. So this is a nice touch. Now, I have to applaud UMW Toyota is that they have equipped, as standard across all variants in the Corolla Cross, hands-free, kick-sensored powered tailgate. So you operate it by having a key in your pocket, do a kick motion, and it opens up. You get a nice tonneau cover here, retractable. 440 litres of boot space, best in class, although it's only 3 litres more than the Honda HR-V, but regardless, it's larger. You can also fold the rear seats down if you ever need extra space. There are two teh tarik hooks on either side that supports up to 2 kilograms of load. Come, let's check out the interior. So stepping inside the cabin of the Corolla Cross is a very familiar place because most of the parts in here are taken lock, stock, barrel from the Altis. However, Toyota says that they have done some tweaks, adjustments to suit the cabin to an SUV style instead of a sedan. So for example, the A-pillars are slightly narrower compared to the Altis, and you have a 121mm higher eye level compared to the Altis, meaning you're seated a little bit taller and you have better outward vision. Other than that, the multifunctional steering wheel, no paddle shifters in the Corolla Cross, 9-inch touchscreen floating style infotainment system that supports both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as a 360-degree panoramic view monitor, single zone automatic climate control, gear lever, 2 cup holders, center armrests, which is adjustable forwards and backwards, leather seats, power adjusted for the drivers. The difference in the Corolla Cross compared to the Altis is that you don't get a full LCD instrument cluster. In here, you only get an analog for your speedometer and your tachometer, and on the right side, you get a TFT multi-info display LCD style, which you can cycle through the different driving informations that you have. Now, comparing the two variants, the G and the V spec, the biggest difference in here is that you don't get the adaptive cruise control functions on the steering wheel in this entry-level variant. So the higher spec one, you can see the difference on the steering wheel. Now, seated in the back of the Corolla Cross, immediately I feel compared to the CHR is that it's much more airy in here. The difference between the Corolla Cross and the CHR is that in the CHR, if you remember, there's this section of the window lines is completely blocked off, whereas in the Corolla Cross, you get a much lower window line, much larger windows for you to have a more airy feel and outward vision. It does not feel claustrophobic in here at all compared to the CHR, even though it comes with the same black headliner, so this is great. I have the front seat adjusted to my usual driving position and I'm 175 cm tall. I have about 3 tennis balls worth of space. However, space in the footwell is pretty decent. I'm able to slot my feet underneath the front seat very comfortably. The however I mentioned earlier is that the seat looks quite thick, so if you want to cross your legs and whatnot, it does feel a little bit tighter compared to a HRV. Headroom, no complaints, 2 tennis balls worth of space. And amenities in here include rear air vents, one rear pocket, 2 USB charging ports, a center armrest with 2 cup holders, and you're able to recline the rear bench by up to 6 degrees for a much more comfortable seating posture. Over to the side door cards, you also have a little cup holder space for you to put a small mineral water bottle here. Compared to the standard Altis, it's much more easier to get in and out of it because Toyota has redesigned the aperture as well as the seating posture in the Corolla Cross to make for much easier ingress and egress. So, driving the all-new Toyota Corolla Cross, let's go through some facts and figures. It's powered by a 1.8-litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder petrol engine, shared with the Toyota CHR as well as Corolla Altis. It pushes out 139 horsepower and 172 Newton meters of torque, paired to a CVT automatic. Now, curiously, in the Corolla Cross, there's no sports mode, there's no eco mode, none of that. It's just one driving mode, default driving mode, and the only thing you can play with are these sequential shifters, which switches through 7 virtual ratios once you push your gear lever to the right. And there's no pedal shifters, you can only manually control it via the gear lever. This powertrain is tried and tested. There's really no complaints to this powertrain. Some of you may say that it's old, however, I feel that the word here is reliable. It has gone through years of refinement and improvements, and the end result is right now I'm driving this in 2021. It's very quiet, it's very smooth, it's very pleasant. Response is very well as well. There's no that very obvious rubber band effect. It doesn't jerk when you're setting off like Proton CVT. This is a very refined CVT, and the benefit of it is at high-speed cruising, the revs are kept very low. At 110 kilometers per hour, this thing is just revving about 2000 RPM, and it contributes to the entire car's refinement. Refinement is also another strong suit for this Corolla Cross. Dead silence. It's so quiet in here. I'm rolling on not very smooth patch of road and silence. It's so quiet. I don't have my DB meter with me in this first media drive. However, that full testing will come when we get our hands on this in the future. Subjectively, I feel that this car is quieter than the Corolla Altis. It's definitely much quieter than the Honda HR-V, and wow, I have to say, this is such a refined car. And I think that families would seriously appreciate this kind of refinement, especially of a car of this class. This is a family SUV, you're going to fetch your friends, family around. This kind of refinement is definitely going to be a big plus point for buyers. And I think that families would seriously appreciate this kind of refinement. It's so quiet for its intended purposes. Now let's talk about the driving experience a little bit. TNGA, we know that it's class-leading stuff. No doubt about it. There's a lorry next to it. If you guys are going to comment that the NVH is noisy, it's because there's a massive lorry next to me. But the driving experience, TNGA's C platform, the switch from a double wishbone suspension to a torsion beam, does it affect the driving experience? Does it make it less dynamic to drive? Yes, but it doesn't matter to 99% of the buyers. 99% of the buyers will not be able to tell the difference because this torsion beam setup is just so pliant, it's sublime. Toyota has done a wonderful job in terms of calibrating its suspension because day in, day out, normal daily commute, you won't be able to tell the difference. You won't feel the difference between a double wishbone as well as a torsion beam. And even if you throw it into a corner or do a quick lane change, no, you really don't feel it. In terms of handling, well, it's definitely not as dynamic as the Corolla Altis because this car has a taller center of gravity, and as I've mentioned, the torsion beam setup on the limits. Yes, of course, the Corolla Altis feels a lot better, but compared to its class rivals, which is the Mazda CX-30 as well as the Subaru XV, I can say this. The CX-30 is much sharper to drive in terms of the steering feel. The feedback of the car is very sharp. The XV, it's a lot more pliant, it's a lot more capable around the corners when you switch directions because of its all-wheel drive setup and low center of gravity. But the Corolla Cross, it's a family SUV. It's so comfortable, it's very pliant. Throw it over bends, you will have no complaints. Your passengers and all that will be very comfortable. And I wouldn't say you won't get to have a fun time in driving the Corolla Cross, but I do have to say, for its intended purposes, which is the target audience being a family-oriented car, this sort of handling is sublime. I have no complaints whatsoever. And mind you, if you want to pitch it directly against the positioning of its competitors, which is the Honda HR-V, this car drives a lot better than a HR-V. No questions asked. Now, unfortunately, this variant that I'm driving in, the G-Spec, does not come with the Level 2 semi-autonomous driving feature, the Toyota Safety Sense. That's okay, so I don't get to try out that feature. But this car does come with blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert, so that's the safety side of things, 7 airbags and that kind of stuff. But overall, let me just wrap up this video and conclude the Corolla Cross, my first impressions of it. It's underwhelming. Why do I say underwhelming? It's because TNGA, Toyota has screamed and shouted a lot about their, it's all about the drive, you know, the driving experience. The Corolla Cross really is a family SUV. It really appeals to the uncle, aunties or the newlyweds. It's a great family car, don't get me wrong, it's a great family car. And I'm disappointed by that fact because I thought this car would be much more engaging, dynamic to drive. However, as a family SUV, seats 5 people comfortably, massive boot, great features, comfortable driving experience, refined powertrain. I mean, all we're waiting for is the price. So as always, for more information of the Corolla Cross, make sure to log on to WapCar.my. As always, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this. Download the official WapCar app on Apple App Store and Google Play Store for all your latest reviews, news, and comparisons to help you find your next perfect car.